The pictures you are about to see were taken by someone who didn't bring their camera. They were taken with the film that's a camera, the Kodak FunSaver 35 camera. So affordable, so easy to use. For great pictures anywhere, anytime, catch the moment with a Kodak FunSaver 35 camera. The film that's a camera.
Kodak is an American company founded in 1889 by George Eastman in Rochester, New York. Kodak Eastman was a dominated technology company in the 20th century. However, its ineffective leadership style consequently led the company to failure. Kodak's leadership style is described as bureaucratic, overbearing, and to an extent autocratic, thus exposing transactional leadership style. Eastman followed the charismatic or also known as transactional leadership style. The charismatic or transactional leadership style was first discussed by a scholar called Max Weber. Weber defined charismatic leadership as a set apart from ordinary people and treated as an endowed with supernatural, superhuman, or at least specifically exceptional powers or qualities, regarded as of divine origin or as exemplary, and on the basis of them the individual concerned is treated as a leader. Over the years, the definition has progressed and developed according to time. They eventually have identified 4 characteristics of transactional leadership. They are possessing and articulating a vision, willing to take risks to achieve the vision, exhibiting the sensitivity of followers' needs, and demonstrating novel behavior. Eastman ran his company following the philosophy of fostering growth and developing through continuous research. He also respected his employees, treated them fairly, and restored profits to build and grow the business. Transactional leadership behaviors revolve around the issues of employment like salaries and wages, feedback, and rewards for the performance. Transactional leaders often leave the employee's role unclear, which raises an issue of unclear sense of direction. A lot of personal risks and considers his employees' needs. This made Eastman establish a welfare program which included employee profit sharing. He also donated an estimate of over $100 million. He showed he has the characteristics of a transactional leader as he thought of the welfare of his employees as well as took personal risks.
I'm going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses of the leadership style that Kodak had. The importance of making good decisions is further exaggerated when the potential for brand blindness is present. Kodak's strength included Kodak's strength included its brand equity and a global presence that imported a competitive edge for over a century. Through the company failure, the leadership style had its advantages that helped Kodak. Firstly, transactional leadership style removes favoritism from the business aspect. Relationships are mostly impersonal. This style often the dynamics of these relationships are set aside for the good of the team and the company to focus on the overall objective and mission of the organization. The CEO of Kodak, according to Hopecraft, the leader was fair in business practice and did not have any associate with whom they became social at work or outside work premises. Secondly, bureaucratic leadership style, in other words, transactional leadership style, creates strong levels of job security for employees. With centralized duties and roles within a team, the leader at Kodak ensured that the rules and regulations in the organization reinforced the need to maintain high levels of employee retention. This was done such that Kodak hired specific employees for specific tasks, and this would ensure that each employee focuses on what they do best to bring the best results in the organization. The weaknesses of this leadership style is that there were major weaknesses of is that the leadership style which led to a devastating result of the organization's performance was that firstly, it provided a structure which has limited forward movement. What do I mean by that? This leadership style mostly brings our specialization at work, and this causes employees to stay at a job for a long period of time, only until another job opens up that gives more salary. However, the only way to make the chain of command work is through each and every employee invested into the system structure of the organization and them being able to make decisions for the organization to help the organization. Financial and non-financial results of the leadership style adopted by Kodak. Financial impact. Difficult times require leaders to make sometimes unpopular decisions to ensure that a company survives. The leadership style applied by Kodak was good in the old business age. Coming into the modern day business to make a profit, the leaders of Kodak failed to meet the demands of growing digital age and advancing into development of its technology. This brought about more competitive advantage to its competitors like Canon, Casio, Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, and Samsung to take advantage of the digital camera market gap and profit. This problem started just after 1995, where it was a huge cost of about 500 million, and this affected revenue in 1996 and 1997, as they failed yet again to meet the demands of their customers. This was majorly because customers did not want to buy a film and pay for the prints. With a digital camera with demand deficit, they were forced to shut down the production of this digital camera, hence suffered sunk costs. Ever since then, sales have dropped gradually up until they filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Eventually, however, after Kodak had failed and declared bankruptcy in January 2012, the difficult management decisions both complement and contrast the business philosophy of the founder George Eastman. When Kodak emerged from bankruptcy in September 2013, retirees saw the health care benefits and pensions eliminated, a contradiction to Eastman's edict to treat employees fairly and with respect, but a necessary evil to keep the company afloat. So this was very bad for the company because the percentage in the employee turnover started to increase. Non-financial impact. The accessibility bias is an increasingly unobtrusive heuristic that can make leaders make choices that are ineffective. The capacity to review past occasions or achievement on account of Kodak is continuously inside arm's scope. As indicated by Dane Mann, constant notices of Kodak's achievement in the film and motion picture industry, Oscar and Emma Awards popular photographs and pictures of George Eastman colored observations. These dedicatory moments from Kodak's made it hard to grasp another future. Overestimation. The view that one is superior to anything or others, especially in the organization context, can demonstrate particularly how harming competitive environment. As indicated by Beserman Moore, it shows itself in qualities, for example, self-magnification of the leaders and confidence responsible for circumstances. Accordingly, the outcomes of this point of view can cause an organization, in this case Kodak, to lose its aggressive edge as it saw that it had power over the market and to overestimate the time that it would take contenders to enter the advanced camera space. Kodak film had turned into an industry standard and caused the organization to have an excessively hope perspective on the long-haul viability of its products.
The impact of the leader on the people he led. Kodak invented the first digital camera in 1975. However, instead of pursuing the new technology, they held back, as the leadership in Kodak was concerned that if they had to pursue the digital camera, it would hurt the lucrative film business. Even after digital cameras started to reshape the industry, Kodak made a classic mistake. of focusing on sales and ignoring customer preferences. Leadership within Kodak filtered out information that went against their views that film would hold the dominant preference of consumers. Kodak failed to break away from their traditional views and could not accept that consumers no longer felt the need to print pictures, but rather chose to store them in digital platforms. Because of this, employee turnover started to increase as the views and ideas were not heard. The former employees were later employed by a lot of Kodak's competitors, and this gave them an advantage to step up the takeover of the digital world. Eventually, Kodak was forced into digital market after 20 years after the invention of the technology. This lack of decisiveness was detrimental to Kodak's business. Their late entry allowed competitors to flood the market and capture the market share, followed by invention of the mobile camera phones, which also attacked Kodak's core business, which all led to the Kodak bankruptcy in 2012. Recommendations. It is important for all companies as well as leaders to be open-minded, as the world we are currently living in is forever changing, with greater disruption and increase in the pace of innovation than ever seen before. Through the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is forcing organizations as well as their leaders to transform, forcing them to create new value. As the world becomes more connected, leaders will have to extend their physical environment into new digital environments. Although the Fourth Industrial Revolution is well within the early stages, it will continue to disrupt everything we know. The leaders of Kodak need to be able to encourage change while facing new challenges in the market. They need to adapt their decision making to the situation on hand. Furthermore, it is of the utmost importance for leaders at Kodak to not delay their reactions, as they would require a more immediate response to the new situations that will occur as the Fourth Industrial Revolution starts to take off. Additionally, the senior leaders at Kodak should make use of business coaches or trusted advisors whom can provide them honest feedback to ensure that the new leaders do not fall into the same trap and repeat the mistakes of the past of the predecessors.
In conclusion, the mistakes made in the past by Kodak's leadership have been analyzed in many contexts. There is much more to Kodak's history of innovation, the markets in which the company participated, and its past acquisitions and divestitures of one complementary business. But the lens of the reference for this assignment in particular was narrowed to Kodak's legacy business of film photography and the disruptive technology of digital photography. The goal to transform the company and embrace, rather than avoid, disruptive technology takes able decision-making and leadership. As Kodak's new leaders make another attempt to rewrite the history of one of the world's trusted brands, the underdeveloped decision-making must be replaced by progressive and decisive leadership that will allow Kodak to again thrive.